Okay, what's going on, guys? It's the late night edition of the Twins Periscope chat. Sorry about putting my hand in your face there. Um, I don't know, we're going to have some fun with it tonight. I do have the official cat of the Periscope chat, Oscar, behind me. Buster will probably make an appearance here in a little bit. If you have questions, feel free to put them on the screen here, or if you like, you can tweet them to me at Brandon_Warne, and we can chat a little bit about tonight's Twins win. Just wrapped up in Arlington, 8-1 Twins over the Rangers. Very impressive night for the Twins offense. 7 of the 8 runs coming in the 5th inning, and I don't know. I mean, they kind of waited out Andrew Kashner. 95 pitches and 4+ innings, and just a really great overall offensive effort for the Twins. Get back to 500. And, you know, this Texas team, I think, projects to be fairly good. They've beaten 2 of Texas's worst starters, granted. You know, all things considered, beating Andrew Kashner and Martin Perez is not going to make anybody's socks roll up and down their legs. But, you know, the Twins had to get back to 500, and they've done a very nice job of that. Impressive night for Byron Buxton, doing a good job going back up the middle, back up the box. Even the ball that he was out in front of and golfed into left field, did a nice job, stole second base, took a walk. Obviously, his stats aren't going to make anybody too excited at this point in the season, but, you know, obviously he's off to a much better, I don't want to say a better start, but he's playing better now than he was even just 3-4 days ago. And I think you've seen him how he's tracking the ball and how he's just taking better plate appearances, which I think is just great to see. And I had actually reported about a week ago that he was working with James Rowson on getting out in front, letting the ball get deep, and then you know, rocket the ball up the middle. Obviously, hit the ball hard and all that stuff. But got to read my pregame stuff, my postgame stuff on Zone Coverage. I sneak a lot of stuff in there, and I realize that's a lot of words, but usually I'll have some interesting stuff in there. I can't promise that it's very good, but trying to get better. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so obviously very fun game. Miguel Sano, I saw somebody comment that they did not know he had the defensive prowess. Honestly, I missed the play. I was off and on with the game because we were working on car seat stuff for the baby who's going to be here very soon. And so I didn't see the play. But the play Sano made last night, and I saw somebody on the Star Tribune ripping it, like that he's not a good... He didn't make a good play defensively last night. Well, with a 16-mile-per-hour wind and the ball gusting away from him, he made a really nice play last night, too. I think what you're seeing is that his focus at the plate is carrying over to how he plays defense. And I've always thought he had the physical tools to be good defensively. He's got the great arm. He can move around fairly good for a guy his size. Now, getting thrown out at second to end that big inning probably didn't really play into that mobility defense, but I think as far as a third baseman goes, he can be average. The arm is good enough to be above average, and the range might be just slightly below. But, you know, put those two things together, and I think you've got a fairly decent defensive third baseman. He's not going to win any Gold Glove awards or anything like that. But the longer you can keep him on the dirt and on the left side, you know, that's beneficial to whatever the Twins are going to try to do as far as moving forward at first base, whether Joe Mauer continues to play there, Kenny Vargas, Byung-Ho Park. Who knows if they draft Brendan McKay, who could play first base. Obviously, I think he's going to pitch. But, you know, I just don't know what the plan is at first base. And the longer Sano can play third, the better it's going to be for the Twins. Multi-hit games tonight. Miguel Sano, 3 for 4, 2 for 5 for Joe Mauer, who's maybe starting to look a little bit more alive with the bat. 2 for 5 for Kenny Vargas, including what I thought looked like a mammoth home run, but ended up being a wall banger. And then Eddie Rosario with a couple hits. I think Eddie's coming around too. Again, not going to make anybody forget about Max Kepler on the other side of the outfield. Kepler obviously off to a really nice start. But Rosario is taking better plate appearances. Walk numbers aren't really there. But I did see some figures as far as how he's doing a better job making contact with 2 strikes and things like that. So he is doing some things better than he did in previous seasons. It hasn't shown in results, but I think the home run in the Detroit series off Joe Jimenez was kind of the beginning of his transition into wherever he gets to. And again, like I said in the offseason, Eddie Rosario had a 900 OPS on batted balls to each field. The problem is what he's doing in the at bats where he's not hitting the ball in play with any kind of authority, whether it's striking out, swinging at pitches out of the strike zone, that kind of thing. Nick Tuttle says, Hunter Green is the easy choice. Give me ceiling versus floor any day. You've always said take the most talent. Yeah, I tend to agree. I'm not really sure what the line of thinking would be taking Brendan McKay, whether it would be 90% of Green's ceiling, but 2 years earlier. And again, what I said on Midwest Swing today was that I don't think these guys have to worry. Actually, I think it was Midwest Swing late last night. I don't think the guys like Levine and Falvey have to worry about if Green takes 4 years to get to the big leagues, that they could be fired in that meantime for not performing. I think already the results on the field have given them positive equity in the minds of the poll lads and even the fans. Hopefully, hopefully the fans are seeing the process in motion here. So I don't think there has to be any worry that you have to immediately justify a quick to the big leagues pick in Brendan McKay. Now, if they like McKay better for whatever reason, I don't know if it would be a deeper arsenal or if it would be from the left side, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I don't know. I say take the highest ceiling guy, whoever your people tell you, whether Sean Johnson says that they should draft McKay or Green. It's obviously not up to me, but I feel like Green is the better pick, but that's just me. I did see Eric Black, not Ethan Black, asked what kind of return they could get for Ervin Santana if he keeps this up. And yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's probably a better return than last year at this time, because you have to look at the fact that it's 2 more years of club control, voidable to 1 in case of injury, in case of ineffectiveness, or whatever. You got as many as 2 years of control of Ervin Santana, with the idea that if he continues to pitch well, you would have him for 2.5 years at the most, 1.5 years at the least, assuming a mid-season trade. And I don't think Falvey and Levine are going to let, if the team, let's say the team's 2 games over 500 on July 20th, that doesn't mean they're not going to trade Brian Dozier. That doesn't mean they're not going to trade Ervin Santana. I think that they don't have the emotional attachment, or they have the ability to separate from that when making a trade deadline deal, which is important because, the fact of the matter is Ervin Santana is 34 years old, and you need to maximize on your return on him. Now, maximizing your return on Ervin Santana, part of that could be keeping him for the next 2 years. Don't get me wrong. If the return comes from Ervin Santana pitching the next 2 years at a 3.0 ERA, just hypothetically, that's fine. Same deal with Dozier. If you can't get anything for him playing for you still has value. And I know people get tied up in if you're not going to be any good, get value for them from the outside. Well, how would that have panned out if Ervin Santana was doing this for Texas right now and the Twins would have gotten a couple of, B- or B+ prospects? Obviously then it would be a revisionist thing where people would be very upset. So I think, the way he's pitching now, I think that you can get a significant return for him with the idea that a team acquiring him has flexibility between 1 and 2 years. I still think Texas makes the most sense, but if Texas is continuing to skid, they're giving starts to Andrew Kashner, Martin Perez. They're giving starts to guys that are obviously not, not really bringing up their end of the bargain behind Cole Hamels, behind Yu Darvish. And I believe they had A.J. Griffin going as well. I mean, they're going to need somebody to round out their rotation if they're going to get into the postseason. And it's going to be a contentious division with the Astros being very good. I mean, I'm not going to bury Seattle. I'm not going to bury anybody yet, but I think the Astros are kind of the class of that division. And so battling for a wild card might be, where they are handed to. I did see Jimmy Dosen ask if I am sick of the overreaction and underreaction to Byron Buxton's every at-bat. Yes, I am absolutely. I like the idea that we can see improvements, but the idea that we have to really sell it with like a football mentality of, oh man, that play meant, 8% of a game or something. I don't know. I feel like the football mentality has pervaded baseball fans in that they need instant gratification and they need instant proof that something is changing for the better or is continuing to be bad. That's not to say the football fans can't be intelligent. I work with some of the smartest football fans I know, and so I just get a little annoyed that we feel the need to break down every single plate appearance. Now, with that said, the last 2 games for Buxton have been very positive. In fact, I just sent out a trade offer on AutoNew, which is the Fangraphs Fantasy Baseball League, for, I want to say, it was, the name is escaping, Sean Newcomb. $3 Sean Newcomb for me. I offered it for a $14 Byron Buxton. I think the guy's going to turn it down, but I'm going to try buy low. I've been waiting for somebody to cut him, and then I could take him on waivers, but I just don't know I don't know the guy that well, so I don't know. He's a rebuilding team, so I sent him an offer for a prospect. I could probably send another one, so we'll see. But I still believe in Byron Buxton. Don't believe in Danny Santana as much. I saw some people were upset about him getting into the game, but really not that big of a deal. Ben Antel wants to know how much playing time is Vargas going to get. He's got fantasy appeal in deeper leagues if he's playing every day. At this point, I think I would probably start Vargas every day, whether it's at first base, whether it's at DH. Give Mauer some time off. And, Grossman, I want to see play more. I don't necessarily want to see him in the outfield. But I don't really mind him in the outfield at the expense of Eddie Rosario. I like him better in left because the arm is not very strong. I'm still not positive, and I might ask on the next homestand why or if Paul Molitor has ever thought of flipping Grossman and Kepler. I'm sure he's got a reason, whether it's range, whether it's throwing arm, the lefty thrower in right and the righty thrower in left as far as how they come up throwing. I'm sure he's got some theory or some reason to do things the way he does. I just don't know what it is. So I do want to find out next time. But I do think it would be good to get... I want to see more Robbie Grossman. I want to see more Kenny Vargas. With that said, I'm not certain that I want to see less Eddie Rosario, but if playing him less gets him to reel in the plate discipline just a little bit, that's not a bad thing either. Did see 17 pitches tonight in 4 plate appearances. That's not really going to get it done, but it's not that bad either. There was actually a point a week ago when I looked, and Eddie Rosario was averaging 3.77 plate appearances or pitches per plate appearance, and Grossman was at 3.76. And I didn't get to tweet it before it became not true anymore, but it was kind of amazing to have Grossman, who's notorious for taking walks, averaging fewer pitches per plate appearance. Now, the mitigating factor there is that Grossman jumps a lot of first pitches. We saw it against Verlander in the last series at home. Is for every 6-pitch walk, he is mentally smart enough or cerebral enough to know that the pitchers know and will throw a gimme over the plate, and he'll jump on that. Now, he didn't exactly crush that seeing eye single against Verlander that had ended up bringing home a couple runs and starting that pivotal inning against Verlander and the Tigers at Target Field. But it is a good sign of a player who knows what he's capable of or what he's good at, that can take a 6-pitch walk and then come around and hit a first pitch fastball. Just understanding what pitchers are trying to do to you. Pitching is disrupting timing, hitting is finding your timing. So I think Robbie Grossman's a very smart player and has done a really good job to do what he's done, even if the numbers, didn't, at least at one point, really bear out how well he works counts and that kind of thing. If Sano can make that play on the Gomez bunt, he can make any play over there. Very high difficulties. David Speed saying that. Yeah, I really don't have anything negative to say about Sano's defense. I do want to know what people think. So if you're in the chat here, tell me if you are more impressed with Sano defensively or Jorge Polanco. Additionally, feel free to let me know what you think of the name Lo Natural for Jorge Polanco, the natural, because everything he does, he looks so smooth on the field. I know he's not a stud, but he's a really nice player. So I'm calling him Lo Natural, and you know what? We'll see if it catches on. I'm not guessing that it will. Most of my bits don't catch on, but we'll see what happens. Jimmy wants to know if performance doesn't change, what's next for Kyle Gibson and when? Will he stick in the rotation the rest of the season? Well, it gets complicated that I think Berrios is probably the natural choice to come up for the fifth starter spot when they need one on, I think it's like May 6th. So you got to find another pitcher. You could designate Tepesh, take him off the 40, and bring up a guy like Jason Wheeler. You could get Drew Rucinski. I'm actually, the one guy that intrigues me is Nick Turley. He's not a kid anymore. He's 28. And the funny thing is that Cleveland has made a living out of finding guys kind of out of the fringes. Corey Kluber they traded for, and he was in Double A at like 25 doing nothing. Josh Tomlin was not a dude. Obviously he's not great, but he's a big league pitcher. Danny Salazar, I think they signed as an amateur free agent. Trevor Bauer, obviously they traded for, but he kind of made the coaches in Arizona pull their hair out. Cliff Lee, they had turned into a much better pitcher than he was at first. So I don't know. I mean, El Natural. Someone wants to know if it's El Natural. I don't know if it's El. I mean, El Natural sounds right to me, but I thought it was Lo Natural. Yeah, Carlos Carrasco. That's the name I'm forgetting. Somebody just posted that. I think it was Ryan Sawyer. Yeah, Carlos Carrasco was a huge prospect. In fact, was part of the I don't know what trade that was. I know it was with the was it the Cliff? It must have been the Cliff Lee trade with I want to say Jason Donald and somebody else. Anyway, went from bad starter to amazing reliever to amazing starter. So yeah, if the Twins are going to find one of those starters from obscurity, I'd want to know if that could be Drew Rucinski. Yeah, I'm less sure about that, but I do like Drew. Had him on my podcast this off season. I also think that, Nick Turley could be. He's absolutely dicing at Double A, and I don't know how much longer you can keep him there. I think if you bring up Berrios, I think I'm bringing Turley up to Triple A and trying to figure things out with him. The numbers are just too good for a 28-year-old at Double A to not push him quickly. So I don't know. I think there's a chance Nick Turley could be a factor in the Twins pitching staff at some point this season. So I'm getting a lot of Gibson's questions, length of leash, and all those things. The difficult thing about that is who replaces him. Mejia needs a little more time. So I think you get Gibson 2 more starts before you move him to the bullpen. And again, everybody wants Gibson to be gone. It's just not going to happen. He doesn't make that much money, still has options, and is still a first-round guy. Teams are always going to give those guys more chances than we think they deserve. So, if he can go to the bullpen and throw 94 with a good sinker, maybe he's the Mike Pelfrey that I've been dreaming of in the bullpen as far as, going to the bullpen. One second, I'm going to sneeze here. Oh, terrible. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not convinced that Kyle Gibson couldn't be a decent reliever. Spiked with his stuff, sinker slider guy. Again, like I said, it's been the thing I've been saying about Pelfrey for a while, and Pelfrey, obviously, still not a very good starter, was getting crushed in the International League. So, his stuff's not very good right now. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. If he throws 94, it won't sink. That's the problem. I don't know that that's necessarily true. We'll see, though. That wouldn't be a bad option at this point. He is what he is as a starter. Well, yeah, I don't know. He's nibbling. Throw the ball over the plate, let the sinker do the work. And I just don't think he's doing that. I think he's a nibbler, and he just doesn't trust not getting hammered. And he's still getting hammered anyway, so I don't really know what the benefit to that is, which, I don't know. The way Cole Stewart is pitching is similar to Kyle Gibson, doesn't miss bats. That's what John Miller wants to know. A lot of people asking about Cole Stewart now, too. His struggles are inexplicable because this is a guy that you take 4th overall and right behind Chris Bryant. I mean, you cannot miss on a pick this badly and survive to tell about it. And granted, none of the people that made that pick are still in power, with the exception of with Rob Anthony. So I don't know what the plan is going to be there. If I don't know if you put him in the bullpen, you try to get him to the big leagues, give him some success, and then go from there to try move him back. It just doesn't seem like the development path that he's on right now is a solid one. I wonder if maybe you send him back to high A there's been guys who have been sent back to high A that have gone on to progress and eventually get back to the big leagues. Parmalee did it. Joe Benson did it. Granted, those guys didn't become stars or even good players, but Parmalee was a first-round pick. Benson, I think, was like a third-round pick. So you got to do what's best for the player. And if it means that what's Cole Stewart now, 21, 22? If it means sending him back to A-ball, high A, which would be Fort Myers, maybe that's some cold water and a situation where he gets better. Nick Tuttle says, missing on Stewart and Tyler J doesn't help. Hopefully they figure it out. Yeah, I'm not certain that Tyler J is strictly a reliever moving forward. I know that he's a reliever right now once he gets healthy, and maybe there's a reason why they made that decision so quickly. But if you were to get healthy and be good as a reliever, I don't know if they wouldn't revisit him as a starter. I doubt they would, just because if you shorten him up now, I mean, you're looking at I think he's going to be 24 by the time he probably makes the big leagues. To ever lengthen him back out, you'd need 2 or 3 years to get him to 180 innings. And so it's, I just don't think he's got that in him. So I think they've already made the determination that he's probably going to be a future closer, late-inning reliever. To spend a top, I don't remember what it was, top 10 pick or whatever, top 15 pick on that. Not great, Bob. So, yeah, fifth pick, holy smokes, yeah, that's not great. Yeah, so you can see why why it's an entire new power structure. And, the Kirilov pick, obviously nothing can be done about that. Very, serendipitous injury. So I'm not going to throw the Kirilov pick into that mix. But the guy drafted behind him, Matt Thaiss, I think is raking in the Angels system. So I'm sure some fans are feeling some angst about that, but I don't think Matt Thaiss or Matt Thaiss, I'm not sure how you say it, I don't think he's really worth missing. So, I don't know. I do think that I'm really intrigued by what direction they go with the first round pick this year. Obviously, number 1 overall. But, I don't know. I'm still a Hunter Green guy, but you know what? I also am not dumb enough to think that I know more than the people in charge of making the decisions. So, I don't know. Interesting this year, an obvious first pick, 1 overall, new front office. I don't know if I'd call it obvious, though. I mean, what if McKay is David Price, and what if Green is Noah Syndergaard? I mean, David Price went to college. There's been some good college pitchers, so I don't know. I mean, who would you pick, Noah Syndergaard or David Price? If David Price is going to get to the big leagues 2 years faster, you might pick David Price. No, so I'm not. I wouldn't call it obvious. I don't have enough information and know-how to say that it's that obvious. But I don't know. I guess the one thing that I feel like sets me apart from different analysts is there's so many people who won't admit when they don't know something. And I for me, if I don't know something, I'm just going to say it. And if that makes people not trust my takes or not like me, that's their problem, not mine. And in this case, I don't know enough. I mean, I like Hunter Green. He follows me on Twitter, but I'm not going to let that cloud my vision about what his ability looks like. Obviously, he throws high 90s, good stuff. Not pitching the rest of the year, which came out, I think, officially tonight. But Tyler Kolek threw in the high 90s, and he's nothing. I haven't looked lately, but I think he had arm surgery, and he's not anywhere near a decent prospect. So there's a lot more things to put into consideration. I mean, Brady Aiken, obviously was a huge prospect, and now he's barely on the radar. So, I don't know. Nick Tuttle wants to know my thoughts on him not pitching anymore until the draft. I think it's unfortunate because it does undermine the competitive spirit of being a high school player with your friends and all that. But I get it because, I mean, what has he got to gain by sitting out and not getting injured the rest of the season pitching-wise? About $4 million or I don't remember what the number 1 slot is. It actually might be like 5.675 or $6 million. If I had to sit out the last half of my high school baseball season to make, I'd do that for $60,000. That tells you probably what you need to know about me. But for $6 million or $5 million, yeah, I think I'd probably do it. And again, that's taking care of myself. That's taking care of my family. There's a lot of factors at play there that I would definitely have to take into consideration. Now, could it be a misstep? Sure, but I think he's either I don't know if there's an advisory board that has told him he'll go top 3, but even if he goes top 10, that's still a life-changing amount of money. Top 60 is life-changing. Number 1 slot is 7.7, so thanks Grant for that. That's a lot more than $6 million. Yeah, I don't know if they'll sign him for slot. Sign him for more than the number 2 guy gets, and then save the money, bank it for a guy that drops into the second round or with any of your later picks. So yeah, like somebody just said, get that paper. I agree. I don't fault anybody for going and getting that money, because you gotta take care of your family, man. And it's easy for me to spend other people's money. It's easy for me to save other people's money. I don't know. I don't judge people based on financial decisions. I mean, I think sometimes it can be a selfish motive, but at the same time, you know what? Nobody else is looking out for you out there but yourself. And I've had to learn that myself too in recent years, which, it's a tough lesson to learn, but nobody will look out for you but you. And at the end of the day, get that paper, man. Like somebody just said on the feed here, chase that paper and boom, just do what's best for you. And you know what? You're going to get haters no matter what you do. I mean, you remember A-Rod? Everybody loved him the first 5-6 years of his career. And then he takes the biggest offer, ton of money, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, he's selfish, whatever. It's like, somebody offered the money. He friggin' took it. Yeah, hell yeah, I would do that. I had no hate for that. How about Eric Thames? Yeah, I mean, he's been incredible. He's already got, 11 home runs, which is the same number as the Red Sox. I mean, unbelievable. And I saw he got drug tested tonight, and he said, oh, they can come as much as they want. I got a lot of urine, and I got a lot of blood. That's a pretty funny take, but man alive, he's been incredible. I thought he'd be better than he was last time around when he was a Blue Jay for a while and kind of bounced around. But man, and keep in mind how many people were upset that the Brewers non-tendered Chris Carter. Oh, just pay him the $10 million. All the labor, the people that are, the labor activists in baseball Twitter. And don't get me wrong, I get where they're coming from. But who's paying $10 million for Chris Carter right now? He made $3 million for a reason. 29 other teams had a crack at him and decided not to pay him $10 million. They didn't pay him half of $10 million. $3 million plus incentives. He's barely hanging on with the Yankees right now. I don't have a problem with that. It's one-dimensional players. If you can't do enough things well, the market will dictate what you're worth. 29 other teams didn't conspire against Chris Carter. The no defense, no speed, tons of strikeouts, some walks, huge hole in his swing, first baseman who is just not that great outside of hitting a few home runs. So I really don't have an issue with how the Milwaukee Brewers handled that. Tim's can do a lot more things than Chris Carter. And in fact, I don't know. I wonder if the book is out on him, or if the book is closed on him playing the outfield. As I recall, I thought he played left field when he first came up. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I've been very impressed with him. Obviously, number 1 with a bullet best signing this off season. Looks like Trey Turner is hit for the cycle. That's huge. I've needed that in my fantasy leagues. He's killing me with this injury stuff. The 10-day disabled list has absolutely slaughtered me in fantasy baseball this year, so I am not loving that. But I don't know. All right, what do you guys got for final questions here? I'm going to try to keep it to a half hour, so we got about a minute left. I'll upload it, put it on zonecoverage.com. You need to be reading our stuff on Zone Coverage. Arif Hassan has been great in his pre-draft coverage. His post-draft coverage is going to be just as good. My Twin stuff has been pretty good as well. Nick Tuttle, how is Birdie progressing? He looks good at Chattanooga, very good. More of the strikeout per inning, the walks are a little up, but I don't believe he's given up an earned run so far this season. I think you got to move him quickly too. So don't sleep on him helping this bullpen later in the year when guys like Michael Tonkin might be gone, Craig Breslow, and those kind of guys. This bullpen could look drastically different by the end of the year, whether it's via trade, whether it's via attrition. I think that it's going to be a drastically different and very good bullpen. Tom Hackemer, I don't know much about Tom Hackemer. It looks like the numbers are good, but I don't know if he's who was that guy? The Twins reliever that never got to come up, even though he had crazy numbers. Anthony Slama and Rob Delaney. I don't know enough. If Trevor Hildenberger might be that kind of guy too. Follows me on Twitter as well. So we'll see That's why I don't think they need to worry about losing Tonkin if they decide to designate him. And in fact, I don't know how long Tonkin is for Minnesota pitching the way he is, because they do have enough guys in Jake Reed, Nick Birdie, Hackemer, all these guys that can help them in the near or semi-near future. So it's going to be interesting to see how they progress with these guys, because this bullpen could be very, very good very, very quickly. So, all right, guys, that's all I got for tonight. Thanks for hanging out. Let's try to do this more often. Check out Midwest Swing Podcast. Check out zonecoverage.com. Check out zonecoverage.com/Amazon for all of your Amazon shopping needs. Nothing changes for you, but we get a kickback. So help us out at zonecoverage.com. Zonecoverage.com/Amazon. Thanks for hanging out, people. Peace.